We're on. Okay, cool. I'm going to start just by letting everybody know who's joining me right now that this is my first live stream and I quite don't know what I'm doing, so please bear with me, guys. I feel like after an episode or so, I'll have my grip on things and I have, this whole thing going on for me. So please bear with me. Um, To start off the session, my name is Verma Henry. I am a product designer or a digital strategist. I also like to think myself as a digital entrepreneur of some sort because I like building apps and making money from them. I run the Google Design Sprint mainly in South Africa between Johannesburg and Cape Town, basically helping agile teams build better products faster and helping them with the process of coming from idea to marketplace. So today's presentation really is about how design sprints work and how to do them, get them as part of your system, and get things going, that sort of thing. As you can see on the screen right now, I've got the official hashtag of this video and probably some of other videos that I'll do in the future if nobody steals my hashtag. It's Design Sprint SA, which means Design Sprint South Africa. And if you want to engage with me, ask questions on social media and that kind of thing, you can go ahead and engage with me on social media. So let me jump right into it and get the stream going. To start off, so what do I do? So I help agile teams across South Africa, like I said, build better products faster. But I really play the product designer role between business and the customer slash consumer because the person who's buying is not always the person who's consuming the products. But basically, I play. There's always an experience between the business and the customer, and it's really my job to improve it and make it desirable to the customer and also achieve the business objectives that the business is trying to achieve with a certain product or a service. I run Lightning Decision Gems as a way of interacting with customers and really finding down what the main problems are, which usually translate into design sprints. I'm also quite proactive in the prototyping and the usability testing part of the design sprints, and I have recently started facilitating design sprints and also training them. So yeah, that's basically what I do in a nutshell, and I don't want to spend a lot of time from there because I really want to get into the nitty gritty of this webinar and tell you how design sprints work. So how did I get here? It's been 10-ish years and a bit. I started my career as a high school dropout. Um, yes, that's probably the best decision that I've made in my life. And I started freelancing in really the graphic design world and dealing with print slash web design type of projects. And I really learned a lot about what business demands were and what users demands were as well. I got into the e-learning space as my first job in a company based here in Johannesburg, South Africa. And from that, I developed into my own thing. I started a company called Blackfoot Pixel, which evolved from a freelance brand into a design agency that is currently running as a web design agency based in Johannesburg. So we decided to break it down and make it a very small niche, and just deal in the web design space and assist clients in that space. I also worked in the financial industry. I worked for one of the major banks in South Africa, and I was working in the e-learning space again, and I moved from that, and I'm now in the digital consulting space. Currently working for another company in Johannesburg again, and right now I'm basically doing this full time, helping customers with design thinking, UX design, and design sprints in general, and helping them with the process, mainly working in agile teams, helping them, with the design phase of, the agile sprints and that sort of thing. I will explain later how I put everything together. So my process is a little bit of, you know um quite a unique method that I've evolved and put together over time, and of course recently including lightning decision jams and design sprints. And let me just take you through how the process that I use currently works and where I incorporate design sprints. So initially, when you meet with a team, product design team, or service design team that's trying to solve their problems and get to something that's optimal for their customers, and really improve their service and what they're delivering to the customer. I basically position the design sprint using a lightning decision jam, which is a quick hour and a half, 45 minutes, depending on the situation and the size of the team, the problem you're trying to solve. It's a quick exercise that really is a snapshot of the lightning decision gem, and illustrates how you can answer big problems quickly without much discussion, and really illustrating the process of the design sprint. From the LDJ, we usually come up with quick solutions and bigger solutions, more like long-term solutions that the customer wants to do. So that's where we sort of like apply the design sprint to uncover those problems a little bit more and solve for them with actual real life problems that we validate and test. So these are bigger investment type of things. So let's say when we unpack in the LDJ, the quick wins will be changing your copy, and probably the bigger stuff will be like, okay, we need to change a whole um what can I say, navigation menu or something big in an app or in a digital product, right? So those kind of things will usually involve a lot of money and a lot of development time, and the design sprint is really a way to solve for those big problems and validate the ideas that we come up with in the design sprint, and see if we can get close as possible to our mark that we're trying to hit as possible. And of course, apply the design sprint. I'll share with you a little bit later as well in the session. So in the design sprints that the experience that I've had, I've ran the 5 day design sprint, I've ran the 4 day design sprint, and recently the 3 day design sprint, which I found that really works well within a 2 week agile sprint type of method. So I came up with this cool way of incorporating the design sprint into the 2 week agile sprint, using the 3 day design sprint, and basically use the 3 days to validate your ideas and design the prototype, and use the rest of the week to build those features and really put them into life. This way, you know that you taking bite-sized chunks of work on the project, and you're really working towards to taking out an MVP within 3 to 6 months, that sort of thing. So it's a really good way to validate your ideas, design rapidly, prototype rapidly, and keep moving fast. And of course, after that, we iterate everything. We basically package everything together, and we go back to unpacking more problems. So in the LDJ, we usually come up with more than one problems that we need to solve for, but we take one problem at a time, and we go back and pick the next problem and that sort of thing. So that is my process of sort of working throughout a project and dealing with one problem one step at a time, really using a defined strategy and method that you can keep moving across the board. So yeah, moving on onto some of the tools that I use. So I usually position myself as a product designer, but I come from a very UX background, a very graphic design background, a very creative background. So I tend to use some of, the best market tools for wireframing, for coming up with the prototypes that we do, since I mainly specialize in digital products, that sort of thing. So I use Sketch for, obviously coming up with, putting my concepts into real life, envision to share the stuff with them. So it's usually a matter of envision or Zeppelin, depending on the team that you're working with. Um, Use Figma, which is a great tool. I recently started using that, but I'm more embedded in Sketch and InVision. I've used Maply for a lot of my projects just to map up user journeys and what's happening in each part of the journey, that sort of thing. And Extensio is a really part of my daily life around how I document. It's an online tool that gives you templates of a lot of the documents that you need, and there's a really quick and easy to use usability test um, template that I love using on Extensio. I'll leave all the links to some of the things here below. I'll probably update the the what do you call it, the description section below, and add some of these things, because right now I just have, the general outline of what this webinar is going to be. I use Miro, which is previously known as real-time board, to interact with clients and teams across the board. If I'm working remotely and that kind of thing, Adobe is a big part of my life. Like I said, coming from a creative background, this helped me basically put the lipstick on everything. Dovetail is a tool that I recently found out about, and I really enjoyed it, running or sharing my usability testing with a client, or running usability testing remotely. Really, it's quite a great tool if you want to, if you have clients that are remote and you need to work remotely and record everything and keep everything going. If most of you are UX designers here, you probably know about the Marvel app, which is basically a prototyping tool again. Um, yeah, so Full Story is also another sort of like tracking tool, sort of like Google Analytics, but it's really cool because it tells you, like, there's a cool feature that I like. They're called rage clicks, so it tells you when people are raging on a button and keep on clicking it. And Usability Hub is my go-to place, for sort of like getting quick answers from my community of users. I just fire up A/B tests, and I can see how quickly people responded, and get responses to quick, questions that the team is asking, and we really get the ball going. So, getting into the main story of the day, um, what is a design sprint? This is what we're here for. I'm going to try and make, this webinar probably about 40 minutes or an hour ish, and I will start taking most of your comments in the section below. Once we once we get right to the end. um so there will be a question and answer segment at the end, but if you're watching this after the recording and everything, please do use the official hashtag, which is design sprint essay, to ask me. You can use this on Facebook, Twitter, um, Instagram, wherever you want. Just use that hashtag, and ask any questions or comments that you might have, and I will get right back to you and answer you on anything around this presentation, or if you just want to chat or connect or talk about design sprints, or if you want to request me to come and present the learning decision gem to you. So yeah, let's get back right into it. So what is a design sprint? So a design sprint is basically a framework that uses a bit of design thinking methodologies and sort of like the best proven methods of creative problem solving over the years, and it's really structured into it where where you want to solve. So let's say the bigger problem is that we're not getting clients using our online shop, and then you define a target, which will be probably how might we get clients to register to our newsletter, or whatever way that you feel that you want to focus within your design sprint and get to solve that as the biggest part of your problem. I would always suggest to LDJ before a design sprint so that you can define what those problems are, and you can really start getting things going, looking at the at the landscape from an overview type of thing. So if you run an LDJ, you can come up with these problems, and the problems that you really need to define further on, you can the design sprint to solve it. So that's where it really comes in. So after phase one, you move on to phase two, which is basically where you sketch solutions and decide or choose um, or vote around where you want to take the sprint forward. So how do you want to take the sprint forward? What kind of solutions has the team come up with, and how do how does the team really feel they want to go forward with the design sprint? So you do a little bit of voting tasks and that kind of thing, um, and decide on what sketches you want to build into prototypes, basically. And then comes